Blake. This is episode number 10 of our WWE 2021 save on TEW 2020, and this is the go-home episode of Raw before King of the Ring. We have one Raw, that's this one. We have SmackDown, which will be the next video, and then it is King of the Ring 2021 in the video after that. So a very jam-packed show here on Raw. We've got a lot happening to set up not only King of the Ring, but also next week's episode of Raw. So let's jump right in. We have a pre-show match here. Shelton Benjamin, Drew Gulak defeating Mansoor and Rick Boogs in 5:05. Benjamin gets the win. Easily, I think, our worst segment rating of the entire series thus far. Not surprised. This is just a pre-show match, and we wanted to get these for a little work. So, it is what it is. I'm not really concerned with it, but some of these guys who are losing to bigger stars, aka Shelton and Gulak, more often than not than these two, we need to give them a little shine every now and then. So we're going to do that on the pre-show here. Not much to say about this one. Benjamin and Gulak get the win. And that leads us into our other pre-show match. I know what you're thinking. This should actually be one that could be on Raw itself, but we got a pretty jam-packed show. So we moved this one to the pre-show. John Morrison gets the win over Dominik Mysterio, 9:47. The reason for this, just putting these two together, obviously still trying to improve Dominik's in-ring work a bit. So you put him in there with someone like Morrison, and you hope that will do the job. Rey Mysterio doing some good work at ringside, and as we will see, this is going to transition basically into the start of the show. Even though this is on the pre-show, that's going to lead us directly into the start of the show, which is Rey Mysterio with Corey Graves. We know our main event for tonight's episode of Raw is Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton, and we have an interview here with just a great rating here. I mean, we've seen over the past several videos, I guess, Rey picked up a hot catchphrase. I want to say that was maybe a couple episodes ago. So he has really gotten a boost from that, and clearly lots of green here. So a great way to start the show, even though Corey Graves underperformed. As we've been doing, we like to put, Graves, Pat McAfee with some of our guys as sort of the normal interviewers, if you will, rather than just using the backstage interview stuff with a variety of people. We've mainly just been using Graves and McAfee for their microphone skills, and it's worked out thus far, except on this one, I guess Rey was so good that Corey couldn't keep up. But nonetheless, this sets up our main event. Great way to start the show. I wanted to put this at the beginning because, I want to really build it up as we go. I mean, this is what our entire show is built around. And as you'll see, some pretty significant events coming up later in the main event. So Rey hypes up the match against Randy Orton, and he is out to earn the victory after Steve Austin made the match last week. And we get our first match of the actual card. Sasha Banks gets the win over Mandy Rose, 8:07. Banks statement gets the victory, 59. Not great, but nothing terrible. It is what it is. We're just building up. Sasha and Bayley, who, of course, our general manager, Steve Austin, also announced last week that it would be Sasha and Bayley teaming up against Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan at King of the Ring. That will be one of the, I think it's 2 or 3 non-King of the Ring matches that we have at the pay-per-view. So not going to have many, sort of how they used to do it, I guess, in WWE, but only going to be a couple, and one of those will be the women's tag team match here as Bayley and Sasha continue to chase after Rhea Ripley, and that leads us just to a magnificent segment here. Bayley and Sasha just destroying it on the mic here. Fantastic with what they did. An 84. That's just, these two are gold. As you can see, there's a reason why we've paired them together. To this point, I know, they had the breakup and everything on actual WWE TV, but this is why we're pairing these two together, because when you look at their skills, they're so entertaining. They have so good, the mic skills are good. Obviously, they're good in the ring. So we're pairing these two together right now, and it's really working out. Our Raw Women's Title Triangle storyline advances, and of course gains heat here with the 84. But these two are pretty much something that I'm going to have to keep going back to them when it comes to the mic work, because they have been fantastic thus far. I want to say, though, this is probably their highest rating they've had. We've had them, I think, in a couple different promo segments to this point. Of course, they both won matches, singles matches and such, but they have really been fantastic on the mic. And once again here, just an excellent segment here for them to hype up the tag team match they're going to have at King of the Ring against our Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. So great work from Bayley and Sasha. And that leads us into a segment here with Edge. Of course, we know Edge has sort of been the center of Randy Orton's attention in these first several editions of Raw. And unfortunately, Edge will not be in attendance tonight to watch the Randy Orton-Rey Mysterio match because Steve Austin announces that Edge apparently has suffered a minor injury at a house show. So Austin lets us know that he was informed by Edge, a minor injury at a recent house show for Raw, and so Edge will not be at this particular show. He's not going to be at Raw, and I think actually I'm not sure why we had this. I probably just didn't click it right. Otherwise, I would have had Austin on screen here. So we probably could have got a much better rating. So that's just one of those mistakes you make along the way. The lack of attention to detail on this segment, because I think having Austin on screen probably would have got this up to, I would say, probably at least an 85 or so. So this is just something where, hey, I could always go back and redo this if I wanted. I'm not going to, but that was the premise here, where we get basically a little bit of a segment, an announcement, a graphic, whatever you want to do, where Austin announces that Edge has suffered a minor injury, will not be in attendance at this show. So Edge will not be in action tonight on Raw. So that's a missed opportunity. We could have had this a much bigger rating here, but Edge, minor injury. We'll see what happens with him and if he's in action next week. And that leads to Big E cutting a promo. Of course, Big E has been on a mission. He said it. He is coming after the WWE Championship, and he sees the path to get there. And Big E cuts another promo here. He's been, someone who's picked up a lot of wins thus far. I think he's had 2 matches. So he's picked up several wins thus far, and just hyping himself up here as he continues to make his ascent up the ladder here on Raw, which leads us directly into Big E getting a win over Chad Gable. 10:04, hits the big ending. A nice little match here, 67, not bad. I think we know if we put Chad Gable in there with anyone, probably going to be a pretty fine match, even though Gable is not the most over person we have on the roster. We still know we're going to get good work out of Gable. So even though here, 66-51 in terms of in-ring performance, Big E picks up another victory. I think that's 3 now in 4 weeks for Big E. So he is continuing to be on a roll here, and we will see what's next for Big E, because he clearly is on a mission to win his first ever WWE Championship, and we will see if that leads to anything for the New Day member. And a backstage promo again. We're building to King of the Ring. We know this, so a lot of promos on this particular episode of Raw. We got to hype up, set everything up for the matches we're going to have at King of the Ring. And this is another one of those non-King of the Ring matches that will take place. The Street Profits cutting a promo. They're advancing our Undisputed Tag Team Champions storyline, which will be the Street Profits versus the New Day and the Usos at King of the Ring. A triple threat match for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, of course. It is something where it will be just in terms of the winner will go on and be able to be on both shows. So there is that at stake as well. Whoever wins will be able to be on both Raw and SmackDown. So that is something to keep in mind. So a lot at stake for Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits, and they basically their usual entertaining selves run down the New Day and the Usos and talk about how they are going to be the next undisputed tag team champions. Or really, in our series, they're going to be the first undisputed tag team champions since we got rid of the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles. Another sort of highlight package here for Cesaro. He is in the King of the Ring. He is getting ready for his matchup that will take place at King of the Ring. Of course, he will start things off. And we look at our tournament bracket. Cesaro will take on Mustafa Ali in first round action. So Cesaro, nice little highlight package here to promote him heading into the King of the Ring quarterfinals. And that will also segue into AJ Styles, who is, of course, also in the King of the Ring. He starts things off against Shinsuke Nakamura, and just a great promo here from AJ. Not surprised, gets an 81. AJ's always great on the mic. We get very entertaining segments with him. So this is nothing unusual at this point. We know what AJ's going to deliver. And so he also helps us, advance the storyline. We made sure to advance the storyline on this too. So AJ hyping himself up for the King of the Ring. So we're trying to get everyone who's going to participate a little bit of shine here heading into the King of the Ring. So we've already done that with Cesaro. We've done that with AJ Styles. And we do that once again here with a match, a tag team action. AJ Styles and Angel Garza getting the victory over Ricochet and Akira Tozawa. Ricochet also, of course, in our King of the Ring. and he will be in action. His first match will come against Seth Rollins from SmackDown. But one of these where Ricochet, benefiting from a nice hot new move, Akira Tozawa, who we saw, I guess it was last week or the week before on Raw, picked up great chemistry with Bobby Lashley. That's a unique one. You probably would not have expected. So not a bad little tag match here. 60, it's fine. We knew we weren't getting an 80 or 90 or anything like that because Tozawa's not really over that much. I think you could probably say the same with Garza and Ricochet, although we've tried to do some work with Ricochet and he will be in the King of the Ring. But Styles carrying things, that's what we expected. So a nice little match here with AJ Styles shining, and Ricochet also, as we know, will be in the King of the Ring as well. So these two in action, but it's Styles and Garza picking up the victory. And that leads us, once again, we've really been on a string here these past several segments. I wanted to tie everything together because, this is something where, look, it's King of the Ring. We're trying to build this up. We're hyping it. And Daniel Bryan does the same. He's also in the King of the Ring, and he's preparing for his first round match against Sami Zayn. So Bryan cuts a promo, gets a 73. We'll take that. Daniel Bryan, one of the 8 in the King of the Ring. So we're really getting all this build in for King of the Ring here. As we know, this is our go-home show, so we had to find a way to kind of tie everyone together and do that, and as you'll see, we did that again here with Daniel Bryan and Cesaro getting the victory over the Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode. Gets a 71, a nice rating here. I mean, we'll take that, but clearly we did not expect this. Honestly, when I put this together, I was thinking, I bet Bryan and Cesaro probably have good chemistry as a team, but it turns out they don't. Like, they have no chemistry. So if there was any idea and I had in the back of my mind, which I really did consider, thinking ahead, I was like, looking months down the line, wondering, okay, is there something we could do with Bryan and Cesaro as a team? But as we can tell, it just doesn't work. So a little surprised by that, but we do nonetheless get them the victory here. And Daniel Bryan and Cesaro headed into King of the Ring with a little bit of momentum, both of those in there as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised by it. Like, I was hoping that even if we didn't get, good chemistry, great chemistry, something like that, I did not expect to actually have bad chemistry between Daniel Bryan and Cesaro as tag team partners. I guess I should have done the house show testing and that kind of stuff and seen if it worked together. But this was just kind of one of those one-off tag team matches for now. And as you probably know, it still gets a good rating. So, like, we could always use them in those plays against, good opponents. I mean, nothing wrong with Ziggler and Roode. They're still pretty over for the most part in the save. So, it's good to know that they don't have great chemistry, but I think we can still use them knowing that we're probably going to get good ratings just because they both are kind of over. So, we'll take it. Daniel Bryan and Cesaro pick up the victory and head into King of the Ring with their own bit of momentum, and we will see how far those two go at the King of the Ring on Sunday. And we get another segment here. Our general manager, Steve Austin, is back. And a nice 77. Steve Austin announces that, if you remember, on the previous edition of Raw, our main event was Kevin Owens challenging Sheamus for the United States title. It ended in a time limit draw. So Sheamus guaranteed Owens would not beat him. Sheamus was not lying because Owens did not beat him. But Sheamus did beat Owens. So Steve Austin figured that we can't let things hang there. We have to have a rematch because a time limit draw, hey, they went to work. They had a great match, but there has to be a definitive finish. And so, therefore, Steve Austin announces that we will get the rematch. Kevin Owens, Sheamus, next week's edition of Raw. That will be the one right after King of the Ring. It will be last man standing, Kevin Owens, Sheamus. I know if you're watching this, you're thinking, oh my goodness, they just announced a last man standing match actually on WWE. I guess with Owens involved too, but I promise we had this in the works before they announced that. This was the plan from the beginning, was to work to this Kevin Owens and Sheamus last man standing match. So I didn't just steal WWE's idea, right? Because just because it happened, I guess on Friday SmackDown or whatever. So I promise we had this in the works from the beginning. We were trying to build to this. This is how we wanted to do, and thus far, this Kevin Owens and Sheamus thing has really gone really well, and I didn't really know, from a numbers rating standpoint what we're going to get, but both these guys are pretty over, and so I'm glad that we decided to pair those two together from the start because it's really delivered some pretty good segments thus far, and the match was really good, so I expect the rematch. We're going to have last man standing next week to determine who's going to be the one that can actually claim, having that over the other's head of actually beating them, because no one won the match last week with a time limit draw. But lots of good stuff here in this segment. So I've really been pleased with Kevin Owens and Sheamus thus far, and we'll see how it comes together in a last man standing match. That's our main event next week on Raw. So once again, you can see I like having these different sort of main events for Raw. Like I try not to have just the same stuff week after week after week, and really it's the same on SmackDown, as you'll see. Our main event for SmackDown this upcoming week, it's going to be different than any other main events we've had this far, and I like having different people in that main event spot on Raw. Which tonight's Raw we have Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio. Previous edition we have Owens and Sheamus. Next edition we're gonna have Owens and Sheamus, but like we have a big match in place for every main event. It's not just something that's thrown together. Like we feel like we have a pretty big match that has some importance, and that's what I want to try to do. Having the brand split the way we have it, if you're gonna do it, like I feel like you're trying to make every episode have something that's must see, and so I think we've done that thus far on Raw, especially. Maybe there's a SmackDown that we necessarily haven't done that, but I think for the most part we've also had we've had the Reigns storyline and all that stuff going. So really happy with Owens and Sheamus thus far. I say all that just to say that Owens and Sheamus, they're delivering. So that's our main event once again next week. Last man standing, Kevin Owens and Sheamus. And we get a promo here. MVP and Bobby Lashley, our champion, who has basically MVP delivers the message and says that Bobby Lashley will be at King of the Ring to greet the winner of our King of the Ring tournament. So Bobby Lashley will be there. He will be ready, and apparently he is going to greet our winner at King of the Ring, and we will see what happens from there. Of course, we've talked about Bobby Lashley. He announced his retirement. Of course, not in storyline. He actually said that he was going to retire in 3 months. That was a couple episodes ago, 3 or 4 episodes ago. That was one of our news items we got. So we're still working through that to try to figure out how that's going to unfold with Lashley. But as for now, in our actual storyline, Bobby Lashley going to be at King of the Ring to greet the winner of the tournament. And that leads to our main event, and not really excited with this score here. I was expecting better. A 66, Randy Orton gets the win over Rey Mysterio. So even though it had fantastic heat, great wrestling, Orton hits the RKO to get the win over Mysterio, but it looks like we could have had a little bit better here if Orton was not on his game. So Randy Orton, a little off his game. I did expect better. Like I thought this was going to be a bit of a better rating for these two, but nonetheless, it's a means to an end because this is not it. This is not the final segment of our show. Randy Orton has decided that the win, not enough against Rey Mysterio, because that leads to Randy Orton celebrating his victory. He sees Mysterio on the ground. He attacks, and when Randy Orton attacks, we know he's the apex predator, and he just attacks and attacks and attacks, leading to just basically Orton hitting the punt. He hits another RKO. At that point, we don't really necessarily have it in the segment, but this is where you get, Dominik and all that. Everyone's coming out trying to help Mysterio. Randy Orton kind of gets away. We know Rey's a very well-respected person on the roster, and so, you've got Dominik coming out, those kind of things. We probably could have added that in somewhere, but this is just what we went with just to get the angle here. But Randy Orton beats down Rey Mysterio, and it's not just one of those hits an RKO and that's it. Like Randy Orton punts, RKO, the full package. Randy Orton does everything, and he just leaves Rey Mysterio out with nothing. Like this guy is just completely out. And Randy Orton runs away and just, I guess Randy doesn't run. He just kind of methodically leaves the ringside area. And we get a 74. We'll take it. This is our big angle to close the show. And as we know, Randy Orton has been up to something. We still don't know exactly what he's up to, but we know that Randy Orton's up to something. And perhaps this gives us a little bit better idea of what he's up to, because for some reason he has decided to lay out Rey Mysterio completely, just a brutal attack on him after the match. The win was not enough for Randy Orton, so maybe we're starting to get some idea what Randy Orton's up to. Although we still have no clue what this guy's going to do. So we'll see what happens. That's kind of our cliffhanger again. You guys can tell I like the cliffhangers to end the show. That gives you a reason to watch. But of course, you already have a reason to watch next week. We got the main event, Kevin Owens and Sheamus, and certainly we'll have some follow up to figure out what is going on with Randy Orton, because he has had a very strange 4 weeks thus far on our Raws, and he has been very mysterious. We still don't know what he's up to. He's been, kind of circling the ring with Edge, telling Edge to do the right thing. Now he's attacking Rey Mysterio. Who knows? Like, it all doesn't make sense right now, but perhaps it will eventually. But that's our show. Let's see what we get. A 73, so not as high as some of the recent ones. I think we may have gotten like a 74, 75. Who cares? But we're in medium. We're in the cooling phase, all that good stuff. So it's not like we're gaining a lot of popularity right now anyway. So we do lose popularity because still overall we're 75, I think 76, something like that, in pretty much all of our U.S. territories and everything. So that's okay. 73, we'll take it. A nice show here to build to King of the Ring. We've set up a lot of stuff. We've got King of the Ring set up, but we've also got a lot set up for next week's Raw because King of the Ring is a little bit different pay-per-view. It's a joint show, but it's also a show that's built around an entire tournament with, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. So it's not our usual pay-per-view setup. So we have to kind of hold off some of the stuff. In a normal Raw pay-per-view, yes, Kevin Owens and Sheamus, last man standing, probably going on the pay-per-view. But it's not for this one. It will be our main event of Raw next week. But that is Raw, and let's see if there's anything we need to address, which, as we know, there's been a lot of chaos in NXT, thanks to our friend Triple H. Let's see if there's anything we need to address before we wrap up this episode. So luckily, Triple H has not destroyed NXT after if you've missed it, if you want to get caught up real quick, Triple H has unretired, basically taken over NXT. He said a lot of things that have rubbed people the wrong way backstage. He has started essentially a war with AEW and New Japan. So that's all in a span of 4 weeks here. So Triple H, who knows what NXT is going to look like a month from now, but nothing in the news right now, which is always good. Every time I hit the advance button, I'm always expecting something about NXT has been the roster has just been completely gutted by AEW or New Japan. So hopefully that's not going to be the case, but AEW Dynamite seems to be expanding. I assume, let's see, they will be showing in a bunch of different places, so that's fine. Looks like the AEW, though, we talk about the split, looks like AEW and the NWA not going to have a working relationship moving forward. NWA not happy with AEW, so we've got tension everywhere. NXT tension not tension, like it's a full-on war at this point. When you look at the company wars, where we've got, we've got these two in particular, NXT at war with AEW and New Japan, which we saw in the recent episode. AEW not happy, or NWA's not happy with AEW, so we got a lot of that stuff going on, so it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. Anything else noteworthy? The Brooklyn Brawler has decided to join ROH. Good for him. Raw, we did really well. Great show. I agree. I thought it was fantastic. Let's see. Yoshihashi sideline. Well, that's not good. A concussion for Yoshihashi. Not good for New Japan. So there's that. And let's see what else. Drug test fees. We're not worried about that. 3.34 rating for Raw. I think that's a little bit lower than what we're used to. So not really concerned with that either. But that is Raw. And we are now only a SmackDown away from King of the Ring 2021. And what we'll do after King of the Ring, we'll dive a bit more into the other stuff. I know if some of you watch, we've really focused on the actual TV shows, the product, the storylines, all that good stuff. But we'll, after King of the Ring, kind of like a reset we'll do after most pay-per-views, where we kind of go through, look at some of our business stuff. We'll look more in depth at some of the, wars, what other companies are doing, that kind of stuff. That'll be kind of your, your after episode of King of the Ring. That'll probably be the next one after that, to kind of give you a state of WWE heading into July or whatever it'll be at that point. So yeah, it'll be July. So we'll do kind of a quick episode, kind of looking at the landscape around the world, everything that's going on, different battles, all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that after King of the Ring. That'll kind of be the format moving forward. So we'll look at that stuff after we go through a pay-per-view cycle. So that was Raw, the Go Home Edition. Hope you enjoyed, and be sure to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Again, I really love the feedback. You guys have been great with that, and this is really a lot of fun to do. And so I'm excited to get to King of the Ring. Hopefully, everything goes according to plan for our roster and everything at King of the Ring, and no one else decides to retire, or Triple H doesn't completely destroy the whole thing. But that is where we're at heading into King of the Ring. We'll have SmackDown coming up next, but King of the Ring is set. We know our tournament. We know everything in place, and that was Raw. And up next will be the go-home episode of SmackDown for King of the Ring 2021.